Gender roles through history. From the moment humans began to form societies, gender roles have shaped the way we live, love, work, and even dream. These roles, expectations about what men and women should do, have been passed down through generations, written into laws, woven into traditions, and carved into the stories we tell. But these roles were never fixed. They have changed with time, culture, economy, and revolution. Understanding the history of gender roles is not just about the past. It's about recognizing how far we've come and how much further we still have to go. In ancient times, gender roles often reflected survival needs. In many hunter-gatherer societies, men hunted while women gathered food, cared for children, and managed the community's resources. Yet archaeological discoveries have shown that even these early assumptions were not always true. Women sometimes hunted and men nurtured. Over time, as societies became more structured and civilizations formed, gender roles became more rigid. In ancient Egypt, women could own property and hold power. But in ancient Greece, women were often confined to the home. In Rome, elite women could influence politics through family connections, but legal rights were limited. These patterns were shaped not by biology, but by the rules and values of each society. As empires rose and fell, religion played a massive role in defining gender roles. In many traditions, men were placed in positions of authority, while women were expected to serve, obey, and support. This wasn't always the case, though. In certain indigenous cultures and matriarchal societies, women led councils, held spiritual power, and guided communities. However, as patriarchal systems spread, especially through colonization, these roles shifted dramatically, often erasing women's voices and leadership. And yet, in every era, there were exceptions. Powerful queens, warrior women, and female philosophers defied expectations and left lasting legacies. The Industrial Revolution brought a wave of change. As machines replaced manual labor, people moved into cities, and women began working in factories. Although they were paid less and faced harsh conditions, women's presence in the workforce marked a turning point. They were no longer only caregivers, they were contributors to the economy. World Wars I and II pushed this transformation even further, as women took over roles left by men who went to war. They became mechanics, pilots, doctors, and leaders. But when the wars ended, many were pushed back into traditional roles, told once again that their place was at home. This back-and-forth struggle revealed how deeply gender expectations are tied to social and political needs. In the mid-20th century, the feminist movement sparked global shifts. Women demanded the right to vote, to work, to control their own bodies, and to be seen as equals. Feminism was not a war on men. It was a cry for fairness, for dignity, for the freedom to choose. In many parts of the world, these efforts led to laws that granted rights, improved education, and opened new careers for women. But this progress didn't mean the end of struggle. Many women, especially those from marginalized communities, continued to face inequality and discrimination. At the same time, changing gender roles affected men too. As society began to value sensitivity, care, and emotional openness, men were encouraged to embrace parts of themselves they had long been told to hide. Today, we are living in a time of great transformation. Gender is now understood not as a strict binary, but as a spectrum. People are questioning old labels, exploring new identities, and creating spaces where everyone can be seen and respected. Still, this progress is met with resistance. Around the world, debates rage over tradition versus change, over who gets to define what a man or woman should be. But history teaches us that change is not a threat, it is a reflection of growth. Every new generation has challenged the roles handed down to them, reshaping society in ways their ancestors could not have imagined. Yet despite all this progress, there is more work to do. Gender-based violence, wage gaps, unequal education, and limited access to healthcare continue to affect millions. Cultural expectations still pressure people to conform, punishing those who step outside the lines. However, history also gives us hope. It shows us that people, no matter how oppressed, have always found ways to resist, to speak out, and to demand better. And so we must ask ourselves, what kind of future do we want to build? A world where gender defines and limits us, or one where we are free to live as our true selves? The lessons of history show that gender roles are not natural laws. They are human choices. That means we can choose differently. We can raise boys to be kind and girls to be strong. We can create schools, workplaces, and families that celebrate difference instead of fearing it. We can listen to those whose voices have been silenced and make room for new stories to be told. In the end, history reminds us that the journey toward equality is never easy, but it is always worth it. By looking back at the roles we've played and the barriers we've broken, we find the strength to move forward. Gender is not a destiny, it's a story we write together. Let's make it one worth remembering.